Somewhere, a film exists, or rather, it did. The last known copy burned in 1965 in a vault fire at MGM, hundreds of other titles. But this one is different. This one people still talk about. A single photograph, a man in a wide-brimmed hat, mouth open too wide, eyes hollow, standing in front of nothing. No one alive has seen it. That image has haunted cinema for over 60 years. Is it frightening, disturbing, unsettling? I'd argue it's all three. But more than that, it evokes something deeper than horror. It represents the fact that things disappear completely, permanently, and that the record of their existence can outlast the thing itself. This is the condition of lost media. The term is deceptively simple. Lost media describes any work, film, audio, video, software, text that can no longer be accessed by the public in any verifiable form. The community that studies this phenomenon draws a precise distinction. Something is only truly lost when it is completely inaccessible. Scarcity is not the same as absence, and absence is not the same as destruction. These are different things. The taxonomy matters. Media can be completely lost. No surviving copy of any kind. It can be partially found, fragments, a single episode, a bootleg with missing reels, or it can be unidentified. The media exists, but no one knows where it came from or what it is called. That last category belongs to the digital age, and it is stranger than it sounds. In 2021, a user posted a song to the internet. No title, no artist, just a 30-second clip of an impossibly catchy melody with a hook that listeners described as instantly familiar, like something overheard in a dream. They called it "Everyone Knows That." For 3 years, it circulated through forums and Discord servers and subreddits dedicated entirely to this one song. Theories accumulated. An unreleased demo from a major pop act, an AI hallucination, a regional jingle that never aired outside one city. It was none of those things. In 2024, someone searched in the right place. The song, formerly titled Ulterior Motives, was a track composed by two brothers named Christopher and Philip. It appeared in a 1986 adult film. The brothers had no idea their music had become a global mystery. They were not hard to find. No one had looked in the right genre. When they learned the truth, they re-recorded the album. The community had spent 3 years searching for a ghost. The ghost had been alive the entire time. The mechanisms of loss are older than the internet. In the early 20th century, studios destroyed their own films deliberately. Nitrate film was valuable for its silver content. Warehouse space was expensive. The motion picture industry treated its output as inventory, not history. The Library of Congress estimates that roughly 70% of American silent films produced between 1912 and 1929 no longer exist, destroyed by the same companies that made them. When magnetic tape replaced film, the method of erasure changed, but the logic did not. Tape was expensive. Broadcasters recorded over existing footage to reuse it. This practice, called wiping, systematically removed decades of television history. Early episodes of Doctor Who, the first Super Bowl, talk show appearances that no archive thought to preserve. No one decided these things should be lost. No one decided anything. Institutional indifference is its own form of deletion. The digital era was supposed to fix this. Unfortunately, it did not. The internet was imagined as permanent, infinite storage, redundant servers, a record that could not be burned or wiped or thrown away. What no one adequately considered was the difference between data that exists and data that is accessible. Those are not the same thing. A study published in 2025 found that 38% of web pages that existed in 2013 are now inaccessible. The links led nowhere. The servers are dark. This is called link rot. It is the digital equivalent of physical decay, slow and largely invisible until the moment you reach for something and find nothing there. But link rot is passive. The modern era has added something more deliberate. Streaming conglomerates have discovered that finished content can be deleted for financial gain. A completed film removed from all platforms before release becomes a tax write-off. The work never reaches an audience. The people who made it receive no residuals, and no physical copy is released because there was never a plan for one. Batgirl, Coyote vs. Acme, dozens of smaller titles. Library experts have called this a policy failure. It is, in the most literal sense, the deliberate creation of lost media by the entities that own it. In 1975, Sesame Street aired a short film. A girl notices that the cracks in her walls look like animals, shapes that seem to follow her. The short was experimental, quiet, narrated by a voice that did not reassure.
Again, they were standing by Crack Hen.
It was pulled from circulation in 1980. For decades, adults who had seen it as children described it in online forums. The details shifted with memory and time. Some recalled it as terrifying, some as merely strange. The community that gathered around it called it Crack Master, a name that appeared nowhere in any official record. This is a reliable feature of lost media cases. Memory distorts. The thing that scared a 5-year-old becomes, in the telling, something more sinister than it was. The gap between the original and its remembered version is filled with whatever the person needed it to contain. The short was found in 2013. Its actual title was Cracks. It was recovered when an anonymous source emailed a copy to the researcher who had been searching for it. It was strange. It was not anyone had described. Not every search ends in recovery. Some searches end in the realization that there was never anything to find. In 2015, a user described an anime, never named, never officially cataloged, in which several girls trapped in a bathroom with no windows eventually die. The description was detailed and specific. It had the texture of memory. It spread quickly through the communities that collected this kind of thing. Years passed, dedicated subreddits formed, Discord servers organized methodical searches through obscure animation archives, through Japanese production databases, through the private collection of overseas collectors. Nothing. Eventually, the consensus solidified. Saki Sanobashi, the name the community had given the supposed anime, does not exist. It was a fabrication. The original post was likely fiction, and the machinery of the community had treated it as evidence. But the searches were not wasted. In looking for something that was never there, researchers uncovered several genuine works, real animations legitimately lost that no one would otherwise have found. The ghost led to actual discoveries. This is an uncomfortable lesson. The absence of something can still produce an archive. In 2020, a Reddit user posted a photograph of a fabric print, mass-produced, sold in craft stores, featuring 8 stylized celebrity faces. 7 were identified almost immediately. Orlando Bloom, Jessica Alba, the faces of early 2000 celebrity culture, captured in the specific visual shorthand of cheap merchandise. The sixth phase matched no one. For 5 years, the search continued. Getty Images archives spanning more than a decade were manually reviewed. Facial recognition software was applied. Magazine databases were cross-referenced. In 2024, the answer arrived. The face belonged to Leticia Sarda, a Spanish model photographed in 2006 for a magazine called Woman. She was, at the time of her discovery, working as a waitress in Tenerife. She had no idea. The internet had made her face globally famous, had debated her identity for years, had built entire theories around her absence from the public record, and she had moved through those years entirely unaware that she was a mystery. Even the most exhaustive surveillance architecture the world has ever built contains gaps. Human beings can still disappear inside it. The people who do this work call themselves internet archaeologists. The term is not entirely metaphorical. The methodology is similar to what it describes: survey, excavation, analysis. You look for what remains. You reconstruct meaning from fragments. The tools are specific. The Wayback Machine provides a chronological index of the web, but researchers do not use it the way most people do. They access its CDX API, which allows them to inventory every unique file ever captured under a single domain. They find internal directories. They locate files that were never meant to be publicly linked. They use facial recognition software to identify unknown people in old photographs. They use audio identification tools to match fragments of music against unknown recordings. They search peer-to-peer networks for files held by individual collectors who never thought of themselves as archivists. The lost media community is, in this sense, a distributed archive. Informal, decentralized, largely volunteer. It has recovered things that no institution was looking for. The Video Game History Foundation has calculated that 87% of classic games are no longer available through any legal means. Digital storefronts shut down, no physical release. That figure is comparable to the survival rate of silent films. The comparison is striking because the silent film era is understood as a culture catastrophe, a wholesale erasure of early cinema that we now consider irreversible and tragic. The video game figure represents a loss of similar scale happening now in real time, largely without institutional response. When Nintendo closed the 3DS and Wii U eShops in 2023, approximately 1,000 unique titles were effectively removed from circulation. No legal way to purchase them, no legal way to play them. They exist technically on servers and in collections. They are inaccessible in practice. The community that preserves these games operates largely outside the law. The software is under copyright. The copyright holders have chosen not to make it available. The community has decided that irrelevance is worse than infringement. Unfortunately, this is the position they have arrived at. The emotional logic of this phenomenon is not complicated. People search for lost media because they remember it, because a memory of something they cannot verify feels like a gap in their own history, because being told that something they once experienced no longer exists is, in some small way, a claim that they did not experience it at all. Finding the thing confirms the memory. It proves that something was real, that a moment in childhood happened, that the world held once something it no longer holds. This is not nostalgia exactly, a resistance to the idea that the past can simply be erased, that a work of human creativity, no matter how minor, can pass out of existence as though it never was. The people who do this work describe it as a final fight against the passage of time. They use that phrase sincerely, without embarrassment. It is perhaps the most honest description of what they are doing. London After Midnight is still lost. The 2002 reconstruction, assembled from over 200 production photographs and the original script, is the closest thing to the film that currently exists. Recently, researchers have used AI to animate the stills to approximate the movement that the photographs imply. The results are eerie, a performance that can only be guessed at, rendered in motion by a machine that has learned what motion looks like, but not what this motion was. An approximation of an absence, a ghost built from the evidence of the ghost. Whether that counts as preservation is a question no one has definitively answered. The film itself, with every frame that Browning shot and Chaney performed and audiences once watched, burned 60 years ago in a vault. The search goes on regardless, because the alternative is deciding it doesn't matter. And once you start deciding that, it becomes very hard to know where to stop. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing. It really does help me a lot. And I'm sorry for the late upload. I was going to upload another video last week, but I accidentally deleted it and I can no longer restore it. Thank you for being here. It really does mean a lot to me.